What's happening, y'all? Back at you again. Another episode of this week's narrative. No, hit that intro. This week's narrative. Who you have as your dynasty wide receiver one matters. Okay. I see this discussion all the time. You know, DK Metcalf's my wide receiver one. Tyreek Hill's my wide receiver one. Davante has my wide receiver one. Newsflash. Doesn't fucking matter. Okay. It doesn't matter who the title holder of dynasty wide receiver one is, because the wide receivers, the gap between them is just not big enough to care. I mean, we are blessed with a abundance of talent at the top of the wide receiver group, right? We got Davante Adams. We got Tyreek Hill, who was my wide receiver one all year. Got DK Metcalf, the newly emerged wide receiver one for some. We got Justin Jefferson, who's probably now the wide receiver one. That shit is changing week by week. I do not pay attention to any of it all because I just kind of group the wide receivers I like into a single tier. I got DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, and Davante Adams, just like kind of bucket in the same group. And how I choose them depends on what team I'm on. Like if I have a contender, a really top end contender, I'm probably not moving off of Davante Adams because the point advantage that gives you is pretty studly, right? But if I'm a rebuilder, I'm going to pick one of the younger guys. If I want to get some balance in my portfolio and I want to, have that testosterone spike watching AJ Brown, I'm going to put him in some of my drafts there. So it really doesn't matter to me, like who is dynasty wide receiver one, which is why I don't spend any time at all battling this wide receiver one battle on Twitter much. I kind of just threw out my wide receiver one out there, Tyreek Hill, back in June 2020, and I just, keep retweeting that same tweet. So, Noah, what do you have as your wide receiver one? That's my one question. And two, like, do you think about it the same way in terms of tiers? Or are you like putting on the fucking war paint and going to bat for whoever your wide receiver one is?
All right, to answer your question number one, I think I'll answer with what you said. It doesn't matter who my wide receiver one is. They're kind of in a tier as well because I did actually, as you brought up, like Davante Adams is somebody who's going to help you win now and stuff like that. I had DK Metcalf on a team this year, and he was playing the Rams in Week 16, and I was playing against Scott, and I was down by about 1 million points, and I traded away DK Metcalf for a package, and the package included, I'm not so sure, and I know Scott's going to type like, oh, I got more than that. Or no, I think it was with Yannick. And I ended up getting like Michael Thomas and Allen Robinson, but I think I also gave him Cam Akers. Obviously, Michael Thomas wasn't playing, but, seeing a guy like DK Metcalf as the wide receiver one, or Tyreek Hill, or Davante Adams, or AJ Brown, and then looking at my rankings personally, like I have Michael Thomas, my wide receiver 9 in Dynasty, DeAndre Hopkins, a wide receiver 10. Realistically, like the point per game difference between like an Adams, I know this year is ridiculous, but the difference between him and like a Michael Thomas or Hopkins on a normal year isn't going to be that great. Whereas if you look at like the running back position, my number 1 is obviously McCaffrey. My number 10 is DeAndre Swift. That point per game difference legit might be like 15, whereas the receiver might be like 1.5. So as you were saying, and I forgot what your second question was, I think it was like, do I just look at it as tiers? Yes, that's what I do because I feel like it's easier as you hit the nail on the head. Like DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson are obviously the younger assets that can help you if you're more so rebuilding or have a younger core. They probably won't put up as many points per game or as many on the season as a guy like Tyreek Hill or Davante Adams right now. But that doesn't mean you can't rank them within the same tier because everybody's building their teams differently. People value their teams differently. If you're rebuilding and you have a Davante Adams and somebody is competing and they have a Metcalf, you can easily make that flip. So as you said, the wide receiver one discussion overall doesn't really matter. It's kind of like the quarterback discussion, like, oh, who do you have as your quarterback 12 through 18? Like they're all quarterback twos. They all stink. They're all like Kirk Cousins to Matt Stafford to Jared Goff. Like they'll get you 18.5 points every other week and you'll be okay with it. So seeing your wide receiver one and like going to war about Davante Adams being a wide receiver one, and then like the next week when Tyreek Hill outproduces him and you flip it because that's what Dynasty Twitter is. It's people just being very reactionary in a long-term game. It just, in the end, as Lincoln Park says, it doesn't really matter. The top 5 is probably going to be the top 5 for everybody, and however you shuffle it depends on how you're building your team or your preferences on who you like to watch play on Sundays.
Yep, that's exactly it. So don't waste too much time doing that. I mean, spend more time thinking about the tiers, right? Where is your tier break? Is it after Stephon Diggs? Is it after Michael Thomas? Like, think about that. And once you really spend time defining your tiers, which is what I do. I spend a lot of time doing that versus the ranks. Then you can go out and make trades, right? Like you're going to be able to get a market sentiment on like someone like a Michael Thomas. If you have Michael Thomas in your tier one, you can 100% get a profit off Michael Thomas, off selling like a Davante Adams to get Michael Thomas plus. You can do that right now, immediately. No problems asked. Like you could probably get a Michael Thomas plus a late first for Davante Adams. I would not be shocked if that.
That's kind of ridiculous too, because I was looking at Michael Thomas's numbers. I kind of forgot as well, like how good he was. I think he put like 1,700 yards last year. And you go on Sleeper, like if they do color coding, like green is good, red is bad, orange is okay. I saw just green pastures. Like this guy was catching nine catches for like 108 yards and a touchdown every other week. And I kind of forgot how really like elite he is. And even with a bad quarterback, you're running slants all day, you're going to get open. Yeah, I definitely agree with you that you can probably flip an Adams for an MT plus a mid to late first. And yesterday's video, we talked about the rookie draft this year. If you can realistically turn Davante Adams into Michael Thomas and Jamar Chase, who I think we had go with the 107, putting names to the picks, that's an automatic smash. You're accepting that every day of the week.
Yeah. So always look for trade down opportunities, especially from the tier one of wide receivers, because like the fluidity of the top 12 wide receivers is like so high. I mean, who had Stephon Diggs finishing with the most yards in the NFL? Nobody, right? Who had a lot of people probably had Davante Adams finishing the most touchdowns. That's what he does. But like, who had Michael Thomas finishing outside of that? No one. He obviously got injured, but even when he was on the field, he wasn't as good, right? So the wide receiver position is very fluid. It's the position that I trade down on the most because it offers you that opportunity. And it's because people are going to fucking war on Twitter battling about like who their wide receiver one is. Like, oh, Justin Jefferson set the rookie record. Oh, Davante Adams has 18 touchdowns. Oh, like Tyreek Hill is playing Patrick Mahomes. Who the fuck cares, man? Like, it doesn't matter. What we care about is the point scoring system. So if you can trade down and get new assets, that is a winning move. And the easiest way to profit is to trade down on wide receivers. Anytime you see wide receiver one talk, dynasty wide receiver one talk, put that player on the block and see what happens. As soon as I heard that for DK Metcalf, I put him on the block. As soon as I hear that for Davante Adams, I put him on the block. Justin Jefferson, he's going on the block across all of my dynasty teams, right? These are the times where you need to explore trading down and just really exploit that edge because like being the dynasty wide receiver one doesn't help you win. What helps you win is when you look at your team in totality, you score more points than the other team, right? And the dynasty wide receiver one, with the exception of Davante Adams and what he did this year, most of the times don't really give you that big advantage. And, you know, even in the ones they do, like Davante Adams gave you a big advantage, but then look at wide receiver two, right? Look at wide receiver three. The top three guys, chances are someone has that as their wide receiver one. So why not try and profit? So that's the takeaway here is, you know, if you want to go to the Twitter streets and battle it out about wide receiver ones, have at it, man. Everyone likes, you know, enjoying whatever it is they like to enjoy, but really, really spend the time to think about your tiers and identify the targets trading down. That's what you want to do. That's what you want to spend the time on. That's all we got for you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you enjoyed, smash that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, follow Noah, follow myself on Twitter, follow the Bunkbed channel on Twitter at Bunkbed_. Is it Bunkbeds or Bunkbed?
Bunkbed,
right? Yeah, at Bunkbed_, and engage with us and, you know, keep up with us in the off season, man. There's gonna be a lot of stuff coming. And, you know, we'll see you guys next week for another episode of the Net.